because certain victims say the right things that the cameras want to hear. Well, one of those victims, one of the witnesses to the shooting, a guy named David Hogg, you've seen him all over TV. He's been very loud. He's been saying some pretty absurd things. And over the weekend, he was on CNN with Brian Stelter and Dan Rather. For some reason, he's a journalism student, I guess, and Dan Rather was there to advise him on journalism, which is sort of like being advised on journalism by Stephen Glass. Like, why you're being advised on journalism by a guy who's run out of the industry in 2004 for putting forward a fake letter about George W. Bush is beyond me. But I guess that's what the media do now. We have to rehabilitate Dan Rather. In any case, David Hogg, who's one of these students, he actually gets on national TV. And because he understands that his agenda here, his goal here, is to push the notion that guns are responsible and not the police department, suddenly he's defending the cops for not doing their job. Here's David Hogg defending the police officers. By the way, no one should be doing this, okay? If a police officer does something that is wrong, then everybody should be condemning that police officer. If a sheriff's deputy does not run into the line of fire when he has a gun and try and save students, he did something wrong. And David Hogg, nobody else, nobody is allowed to go out there and exonerate this person for the sin of letting children die when you had the capacity to stop it, and it was your legal duty to do so, which is what happens here. Now, I'm not talking about whether it's suable. I'm talking about you were hired to do a job, and you purposefully did not do that job, even according to your own sheriff, who himself is a garbage provocateur. Now, here is David Hogg on CNN defending the police officers and saying, well, I don't really want to say anything about Scott Israel. No shock, he doesn't want to say anything about Scott Israel. Scott Israel's on the same side as he is when it comes to guns. And if he goes after Scott Israel, then it may allow the press to swivel their attention away from their maniacal approach to gun control and toward what actually happened here. So here's David Hogg.
He just like every other police officer out there, at heart is a good person. He didn't take action in this event, and I can't explain why, or I just can't explain. There are no words to explain why he wouldn't take action to take out this individual. But I think it's a good example of how if he didn't take action and supposedly 4 others didn't, I mean, who does? Who wants to go down the barrel of an AR-15 even with a Glock? And I know that's what these police officers are supposed to do. But they're people too. They need to worry about themselves as well as all the other students, and I don't think teachers need to have that responsibility either.
So no one should have the responsibility of facing down a bad shooter. So who's going to stop that bad shooter? I love this assumption that the guns are magically going to disappear from society, but they're not. So who's going to stop the bad shooter? Was it that long ago that we forget that there was a security officer with a Glock who stopped a congressional baseball shooting? Is it that long ago that we forget that it was an NRA member who stopped who shot a mass shooter in Texas? Is it that long ago that we forget that the vast majority of these mass shooters are stopped eventually by a cop? Most of them don't end up shooting themselves. Usually it's the police officers who have to do something to stop these guys. But I guess that we're going to pretend that David Hogg gets to be the Pope now. He's going to provide indulgences. He's going to provide old school, corrupt indulgences. All he has to do is sit around and pass out indulgences. All you have to do to get an indulgence is say that you are for gun control. That's all you have to do. David Hogg really keeping the blame where it belongs. He keeps attacking Dana Lash. So he's on CNN's Reliable Sources with Brian Stelter. And there, he defended the sheriff again, said that the sheriff, Scott Israel, hadn't done anything wrong, but attacked Dana Lash again. Because, of course, Dana is more responsible than the sheriff whose job it is to actually protect these kids and who failed dramatically over and over and over and over 45 times, and then had a sheriff's deputy there who didn't do anything, and maybe 3 more who didn't do anything, and then went on national television and yelled about it. Here's David Hogg, though, attacking Dana Lash because it's really Dana's fault.
Here's what Dana's been saying as a spokesperson for the NRA. She says that she wants to continue to pass laws. She wants people in Congress to pass laws that help out with mental health and things like that, and she says that she can't do that. Are you kidding me? You own these politicians. You've passed legislation that enables these bump stocks, which, by the way, aren't allowed at NRA shooting ranges because they're too dangerous. That's how bad they are. But continuing on with my point, she wants Congress to take action and says that they won't. Are you kidding me? She owns these congressmen. She can get them to do things. It's just she doesn't care about these children's lives.
Well, I asked Dana, if she owns congressmen, can she get them to do entitlement reform? I mean, so long as she's got them completely in her pocket, can she push them for maybe some better regulations? Yeah, there are about 1,000 things that I could ask Dana to do as long as she has Congress directly in her pocket. But that last statement is really egregious, and we're going to discuss that at length in just a second. That last statement where he says that Dana doesn't care if children get killed, this is sick stuff. And I understand you went through a tragedy. I understand something bad happened to you. That does not make that statement any less immoral. It is immoral to sit around suggesting that Dana Lash does not care about dead kids because she disagrees with David Hogg, of all people, on gun control. Again, I've been saying this for a week and a half. I don't understand what about tragedy somehow confers expertise on policy on people. I don't think it does. I think it confers expertise on suffering because that's what you've done. You have experience in suffering. But you don't magically have knowledge about gun control or how it works. You don't magically have knowledge about gun policy after studying the issue for half a second, half a hot second, and then going on TV and spouting slogans that you got from Chuck Schumer's webpage. And you certainly don't have the moral credibility under any circumstances to impugn the intent of people who clearly do care about the death of children. You know who doesn't care about the death of those kids? The shooter. You know who doesn't care about the death of those kids? Presumably ISIS. But I promise you, Dana Lash does care about the death of those kids. I even believe that Scott Israel, who I think is a schmuck, cares about the death of those kids. I think he's a bad guy. I think he cares more deeply about his own political career than he does about the truth. But I'm sure that he was pained by the death of those children. But attributing those motives to Dana, it really is immoral. And this brings up a serious problem with the entire debate that we are currently having. It is self-contradictory. We have all these statements that are being put out there one after another, and they all contradict each other, and we are supposed to pretend like they don't. So, for example, we keep hearing that the Parkland shooting witnesses are taking moral leadership of the gun control debate, these high school students. They've filled the gap left by the adults. There are new leaders. They're the people we should take super seriously. And then simultaneously, we are told that you must never criticize their perspective because they're victimized children. So which is it? Are these the most brilliant, wise, and wonderful among us? Or is it possible that they could be criticized? Like, which is it? Are they innocent children? And if they are innocent children, then wouldn't that suggest we have to protect their innocence rather than using them as political shields? It's so disingenuous to go around saying, these kids are the new experts on gun control, and then the minute you say what they just said is wrong or immoral or not true, then it's you who are the problem. I'm not the one who stepped in front of the camera after a shooting and decided to spout off about gun control. And that was not me, right? I mean, that's my job is to comment on current events. But these kids put themselves in the public eye. That's fine. That's their choice. But being in the public eye comes with criticism. It does. I've been doing it since I was their age. I understand that. I got hit a lot when I was a kid for all of the things that I said politically. And you know what? Some of those were deserved. Sometimes I was wrong. And there's this weird notion going around that they can simultaneously claim that they are the great moral arbiters of society and at the same time receive no blowback whatsoever. That's not how the First Amendment works. That's not how public debate works. And that's certainly not how politics should work. We cannot have a society if the way we make policy is someone experienced a tragedy, therefore they are the new king and potentate, and they get to determine what the policy is. So pick one, okay? If all of these witnesses are the moral leaders, then they also have to take the slings and arrows that come with speaking publicly. Hey, how about this? People who are saying the Parkland shooting witnesses demonstrate that 16-year-olds have important things to say about public policy and they should vote. Okay, that's fine. Let's say that's true. Let's pretend that's true for just a second. I'm going to need to hear you make the case why it is then that we should raise the age of being able to obtain a weapon to 21 years old, that children should stay on their parents' health insurance until they're 26 years old, and that teenage criminals should be treated as juveniles. You have to pick one. Are kids adults or are they not adults?
When your old-ass parents like, I don't know how to send an iMessage, and you're just like, give me the fucking phone. Is our parents don't know how to use a fucking democracy. You think what sick fuckers are out there that want to continue to sell more guns? When you want to see more fucking money. With Rick Scott, it's like, when I get elected to Senate, we're not going to let that fucking happen. And you guys better does not give a fuck, because those fuckers aren't going to get reelected. If you're out there, fuck you. Give me the fucking phone. Fucking democracy. Sick fuckers are out there. Fucking money. They're going to let that fucking happen. Does not give a fuck, because those fuckers aren't going to get reelected. If you're out there, fuck you.